I'm going to talk about an organization I know you've heard of. You just may not know it if you hear their name today. The Region 3B Area Agency on Aging has changed its name. Carewell Services Southwest is what it is called today. Karla Fales is their executive director, and she's here with us this morning. Hi, Karla.
Good morning, Richard.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Well, the Region 3B Area Agency on Aging is a name that a lot of us have known for a long time. Why change?
Well, not as many people know the name as we would like them to.
Okay.
And also just the Region 3B doesn't mean anything to anyone but the state.
Of course.
And Area Agency on Aging, surprisingly enough, is a bit of a tongue twister. And so in looking at our strategic planning and sort of our strategic initiatives, our new focuses, the name doesn't fully reflect everything that we do and how we do it. And so the board decided to change the moniker to Carewell Services Southwest to kind of better identify the organization and our goals.
So when we talk about that whole region part having been a state designation, this name change doesn't change that in the face of the state, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
In terms of the state, in fact, it's a DBA. Carewell Services will be a DBA, so the state will still know us as Region 3B, Area Agency on Aging. But we really wanted the name to better reflect the full scope of services that we provide and where we provide them. So we really feel like the name really reflects what we do, caring for seniors, persons with disabilities, and caregivers. It defines where we do it in a broader region of Michigan. Our programs, many of them serve 8 counties. And then how we approach our work, which is with compassion, with a goal towards wellness, and a focus on quality. And so we really felt that the name embodied our mission, which is promoting health, independence, and choice.
Well, this is not uncommon. When you name something these days, there are a couple of things in mind. One, that it conveys what you do, which is what you're saying.
Yes.
And that maybe there's some sort of inferred solution in that name. And so when you evaluate yourself, sometimes by modern standards of marketing, I suppose, these kinds of things come up, don't they?
Most definitely. And, you want it to also be inclusive of where you are. And of course, the Region 3B, unless you were the state, you didn't realize that, and even from the state standpoint, Region 3B is Berry, Calhoun counties. But we serve 8 counties through our My Choice Waiver program, which is a program that helps people remain in their home, even though they may be eligible for nursing facility level of care. And so that was really important. And I think, too, it needs to reflect to your not only the people that you're serving, but your employees as well, is what is our approach to the work that we do. And so one of our values is compassion, and one of our values is quality. And of course, we have a focus on helping people maintain a level of wellness. Now, that level of wellness varies. But everyone can maintain some level of wellness based on where they currently are in their situation. So we really felt that reflected that.
Karla Fales is here from Carewell Services Southwest, the former Area Agency on Aging. We'll talk more about this name change and their focus coming up in a moment. And it is the new year, so I guess it's an opportunity to look out and say, what are we concerned about in 2017 as it relates to services for seniors and things of that nature? And we'll get to that coming up shortly on WBCK. We're here this half hour with Karla Fales of Carewell Services Southwest. You knew it once as the Region 3B Area Agency on Aging, and so we've already determined that a name change here would help better reflect what it is that you're doing. Now, you talked about briefly about the program, the Michigan Choice Waiver program. Let's talk about what that really means.
Sure. The My Choice Waiver program is available throughout the state, and it is a program that is really targeted at helping folks stay in their home or their care setting of choice for as long as possible. And so it provides a care manager. It provides in-home services that meets the needs of that individual. It's really, really a beneficial program for caregivers as well that may want to have their loved one at home But the stress of caregiving, and that can make it really difficult. My mom was a My Choice Waiver client for 8 years, and her goal was always to stay at home until she passed away. And she'd had a stroke. She was 24-hour care. And with the My Choice Waiver program, just having that person come in for 3, 4, or 5 hours a day was enough to allow my dad to care for her until she passed away in her sleep. And that's really the focus of the program. It does serve 18 and over. And so when you're talking about younger people with disabilities, perhaps from a car wreck or a birth defect that requires, lifetime care, it can also allow for them to remain in their home and not in an institution, which was kind of what launched the waiver program, was the Olmstead Act that said people should be able to be in the least restrictive environment.
Right.
A disability does not mean you need to be in a nursing facility. And so that is kind of the focus of the program. It serves 8 counties. We provide 8 counties going over to the lakeshore. And so it's really an effective program. It doesn't provide 24-hour care. It provides enough care to sustain them in home with supports, with either informal caregivers, paid caregivers, or family members.
I presume that there are some boundaries to this. I mean, if you have a certain level of need in terms of care, it might not involve this kind of a setting. But, boy, if you can stay in your own house, this has a lot of effect, if no other way, on your own mental health and viewpoint, doesn't it?
Quality of life. Yeah. And, it is surprising the level of care that can be maintained with enough supports. We do have some folks that are in adult foster care, and they're able to maintain that living environment because there is adequate care. Even with some pretty significant disabilities, we've had a few folks that have remained in their home and they could move one finger. And she was able to remain in home for quite some time. Mm-hmm. For others, it became because of dementia and those type of situations. And so it just depends on what is available. If there's family members that are available, the program does allow for people to hire a caregiver. So if they have a son or a grandson or a nephew or a cousin, anything but a spouse, they can actually provide the care, because we know if you're trying to provide care in the home, it's going to be really hard for you to work outside the home.
Right.
And so this provides an opportunity for that as well. So it's really interesting. The focus of the program, and it's why it's called My Choice, is really on what the goals of the individual is. And so it can be interesting what's important to some people in their home. It may be, I just want to be able to be in my yard and garden.
Right.
I just want to be able to, be with my daughter. And so, we know most people, their goal is not to be in a nursing facility, but we know there are folks that need that level of care. And so it really comes down to the individual choice, and then what we can do working with the family members and the caregivers to come up with a plan to make that work. And for many, it works for a long period of time. Like I said, my mom was a client for 8 years before she passed away. For others, maybe it's only 6 months or 7 months we extended that stay in the home, but that 6 or 7 months is really important to them.
Mm-hmm. So what's the common situation when somebody comes to you looking for information on this program? They've already been recommended to a nursing home, and you're trying to find a way not to have that happen? I mean, what's the general situation?
Well, usually there's 2 different ones. One is that their care needs have gotten to the point where either they or their family members are going, I'm not sure we can do this, we need help.
Right.
That can be part of it. But we also do what's called nursing facility transitions. So we may have somebody that has been in a nursing home, been in a rehabilitation standpoint, and is now ready to transition home, but still needs a little bit higher level of care in the home. And so we have kind of both of those scenarios. The My Choice Waiver program is a Medicaid program, and so people need to be medically eligible, functionally eligible, have certain levels of disability, cognition issues, but then they also need to be financially eligible. The important thing is people go, I'm never going to be Medicaid. Well, it's a waiver program for Medicaid, so the income level is actually higher. So it's closer to, it's over $2,000 a month, which for many on a fixed income. And the other important thing is it's not household income, it's the individual's income. which makes a real difference with folks that you may have a couple, but one of them or the other is below $2,000 a month. So, we see a lot that's $1,800, $1,900 is their Social Security. And so they qualify for the program. So we try to encourage people is go ahead and call, even if you're not sure. There is an asset requirement that goes with that, but it's better to call and get information and see if you might qualify.
Right, because maybe you do.
You might.
Yeah.
And if they don't, we can provide other alternatives.
We'll give you a second to get a pen, and then we'll get you that number as we talk with Karla Fales, Carewell Services Southwest, the former Area Agency on Aging. In fact, we'll also spend the next few minutes talking a little bit about how we see 2017 as it relates to these issues. Coming up in just a minute on WBCK. Karla Fales here from Carewell Services Southwest. I'm going to get it right.
Yes.
The former Area Agency on Aging. And this is sort of our pivot here, because when we talk from now on, Carewell Services Southwest is how we shall refer to you. But, Karla, she's been working in this area for some time and on these subjects, and so it's all the more important. This waiver program, we'll get you a number for that here in just a second. So 2017, what do you anticipate to be the things that will get most attention here as it relates to senior services and things?
Well, it could be a little bit of a frightening year.
Okay.
With the change in administration, there's a lot of questions, and some of the things that are currently being talked about should quite honestly make folks shudder in their boots a little bit.
Okay.
There are significant things within the Affordable Care Act that are advantageous for older adults. If that is repealed and not sufficiently replaced and those protections kept, that could be devastating for older adults.
What's an example of what the Affordable Care Act
Medicare
does?
donut hole is one of them. Preventative care and screenings. The other is there's some proposals out there that if they sneak their little heads up would eliminate our Medicare Medicaid assistance program, which if anybody visited our office in December, they'd realize how important that program is for older adults and people with disabilities. We need some advocacy on that to make sure that proposal doesn't zero out that program. And then the other one is they're looking at block granting the Medicaid program, which would sufficiently cut that My Choice Waiver program about 40%.
Oh, my.
And so there are some definite threats on the horizon that people should be paying attention to when it comes to older adults. The Affordable Care Act is about more than expanding Medicaid and universal coverage. There's a lot of protections in there for older adults.
Okay. The president-elect is a lot about theatrics, and so you hear some of these things and you say, well, maybe it's not quite to that extent. We presume that if he doesn't already know, he's going to learn that these things do exist. Folks like you are going to speak up about these parts of it, and those kinds of things will be considered in any sort of replacement. But what you're saying is there is still some real concern about this.
Real concerns, mainly because sometimes these programs aren't at the forefront of the conversations. When you're looking at something as big as the Affordable Care Act, we have heard the term repeal and replace,
yes.
And so we're hopeful that with the advocates and other folks getting involved, that those areas that are important to older adults, like the screenings, like the elimination of the donut hole, and some of those things will be protected because those voices will be heard. Can't guarantee that, but That's what we're going to need from folks.
All right. So if you have I presume that you would say this, tell me if you wouldn't. If folks listening have a dog in this hunt, they should speak up, right?
Yep, and we have some materials we can share with them from an advocacy standpoint. If they want to make those phone calls to those brand newly elected folks, we will help them do that.
Okay. What else in the coming year, Karla, that you see as a major issue?
Well, we're still, the number of folks that are needing services and looking for care continues to increase. We are doing, the name kind of reflects the fact we're doing a lot more focus on health. And so even if folks don't qualify for a program, but they're looking for ways to start thinking about what's coming down the road, we have restructured some of our work to focus on those type of things, to give that type of information and support. Just say, let's sit down, talk about options using your resources or public resources. And so we're able to have those conversations. And we have a lot more health education programs, a lot more education programs we'll be doing the coming year. Of course, we'll continue to focus on elder abuse prevention as one of our key programs because that unfortunately does not seem to be going away. And so we expect that'll be a lot of our work in the coming year.
I guess we can have a conversation about that sometime in the near future, too, and bring some of those thoughts back to the front once again, so to speak, back to the front. All right, so questions about Carewell Services Southwest or the Waiver program or whatever it might be, how do folks reach you?
269-441-0973.
441-0973, Carewell Services Southwest, once known as the Area Agency on Aging. Karla Fales is their director. We always appreciate the updates. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll talk again soon.